So I'm back with my good friend over here, Norman, CEO of Elevate. How you doing today,
Yeah,
man?
yeah, yeah, yeah. What's going on, everyone? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. So you've been hosting weekly coaching calls for
Yeah,
not only people that are in the Elevate community, but you're also hosting coaching calls. You're inviting people
yeah.
that are interested, and even people that are just generally looking for a tech sales job or even
Right.
completed our competitor programs. We're inviting everybody over. And I noticed one of the big questions last time was, is it okay to contact hiring managers that are
Yeah,
hiring, actively hiring for tech sales staff,
yeah,
multiple positions?
yeah.
First things first, let's get this one out of the way. Is it okay to contact them when they're posting up on LinkedIn and they got the purple hiring sash?
This absolutely blows my mind because if you're looking for a career in tech sales, 100% not only is it okay, but you should absolutely be reaching out to anyone you identify as a sales leader, a decision maker, your manager, whoever would be recruiting you. If you are waiting and just applying and sitting there, you're losing out. You're losing.
I think like another question that people ask a lot is like, how do I differentiate myself from all these other
Right.
people for the same SDR jobs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Would this qualify?
100%. And that's what's so interesting. You'll find if you're trying to break into a career in tech sales, it really is a level playing field, no matter how much experience as someone has over you. And I know that's hard to swallow. It's like, oh, well, someone has 3 years as an SDR, 4 years as an SDR. Yeah, okay, but are they actually reaching out to senior sales leadership and saying, I want the opportunity? Can I have the job? Can I have the interview? Because if they're not, then it doesn't matter what their experience is. They don't have the same drive and the hustle that would get them to be successful in the role. So, standing out, the question is, does this stand out? And what are some ways that you can stand out? Look at doing the job as getting the job, right? So you getting that first interview, that's you being an SDR. Because when you are an SDR, your entire day and your entire week is focused on finding the right people that could be a fit for your company to sell to them and buy your product, and then figuring out how to get on their calendar. What are they interested in? How can you solve their problems? Giving them a call, giving them an email, giving them a text to get there. Okay, remove product and just insert your resume, your candidacy into the picture. Your entire day, your entire week is finding the right buyers of you, hiring managers, sales leaders, and figuring out how you can solve their problem, which is having a great, strong sales team, then emailing, calling, and texting them to put yourself in front of them and get on their calendar. Like that's how you stand out. Do the job and you stand out.
Another big question that I notice on the coaching calls, and people join these coaching calls if you're actively looking for a tech sales job right now. So much great information and resources being shared. Um, what happens if you don't hear back from these people? Is it okay to follow up?
One Most sales leaders that I talk to who are actively interviewing and hiring, that is a test for them. They will ghost you. They will say, okay, we will be in touch and wait to hear, did you send a thank you email? Did you follow up when you didn't hear back from them? What did your follow up look like? Was it filled with respect and new insights, valuable information, trying to keep the conversation going? Because again, this is exactly what you're doing as an SDR. You're going out there, your team's gonna have a meeting with a potential buyer, and then you have to follow up to make sure that meeting turns into something like a potential deal between your company, and that buyer. So absolutely. You need to look at it as a job. You need to look at it as your business. And if somebody was going to offer you $1 million tomorrow and you had to follow up to make it happen, would you do it?
100% I would do it. 100%. I think like to piggyback off of that, I think that's even way better than the actual interview process. And because in the interview process, everybody is selling the best version of themselves. But if you're thinking about like, instead of how do I get the job, you should really be approaching the tech sales job hunt as if you're trying to close a sales deal, which is what's stopping them from giving you an offer? Okay, how much time is it going to take to
Yeah,
onboard you? How do I know you're going to be the
exactly.
right fit for my company? How do I know how well you're going to perform on the job? In 3 LinkedIn messages and maybe one follow-up email, you will speak so much more volume as to your work ethic, your character, the hustle that you're going to bring on the job versus like you go through 3 rounds of interviews, give the same spiel with
Right.
a smile and some eye contact, right? You're actually showing them who you are, so they feel, I think, that much more confident moving forward with you.
Sales leaders are jaded by that. If you're trying to break into an SDR role or an account executive role, if you're a good salesperson, you can of course tell a good story about yourself. So
100%.
it's almost like a guarantee or a baseline that how you describe yourself in the interview is going to be fantastic. So they are actually looking for the candidates that go above and beyond and enjoy and have a lot of enthusiasm when they reach out directly to a senior sales leader and talk about something they learned about the company, something they learned about the individual or the team, and apply that to why they might be a good fit for the company. Right. So again, like the interview to get you nowhere, it's really, to Rich's point, you showing that these are the exact same techniques you would apply as an SDR, and you use those techniques to get the interview.
I think it speaks so much more volume in terms of like I was so boggled by so many people asking you in various ways, is this okay? Does this come
Yeah.
off as desperate? Will
Yeah.
they be annoyed? Does this
Yeah.
put me into a blacklist? Actually, quite the contrary, since nobody
Right.
else is doing this, this gets you bumped up to the top of the list, right?
That's a whole mindset shift. I think we talk a lot about mindset shifts here. Is you have to let the prospect, the buyer, tell you if something's off. And so oftentimes when we're new to an SDR role, we're so concerned because this isn't how we would treat a friend, or well, maybe it is how you would treat a friend, but this isn't what we consider to be normal. We think reaching out to people without having some agreed upon discussion beforehand about why we should be reaching out is rude, right? It's spammy. What if they don't reply? Well, they're not interested. And so I shouldn't follow up because I'm spamming, right? That's totally the opposite of the mindset you should have. The real mindset you should have is that the person I'm trying to connect with is in demand. And so I am competing against hundreds of other people who are trying to get that person's attention today. And until they respond to me and say they're not interested, they're always interested, and I have to keep following up with them until they get to see my message and my message stands out from everybody else. That's the SDR life. That is it. You are reaching out. You are persistent in your outreach, and you're not letting the absence of a response get fill you with self-doubt. Right? That's not the mindset to have.
I think like it really goes back to what we talked about in one of our previous calls where why tech sales is such an awesome job is because all these you're kind of building up your Rolodex of all these like potential future employers when you're doing outreach and you're nurturing all these relationships. So when you're actually doing all of this, you're not only really setting yourself up, I think, for success on the job, because this means now you have to have some type of tracker on a spreadsheet, Airtable, document, something. You have to be
Yeah.
that much more diligent with your time
Yep.
management. Like, okay, 3 days, I'm going to follow up after this. Like, to tell you the truth, like people that's actually interviewed with me, when I asked them like, how did you know to go ahead and follow up with me? Like, show me what you're working with. I actually saw somebody have this whole tracker of like day one, day three, and like they had messages lined up, and they actually had a process where everything that I was posting up on LinkedIn, they would like and comment on it and be like, wow, that's really great insight that, AI is going to be able to help craft those follow-up emails for like outreach.io or stuff, right? Like that is you giving me a trailer as a potential employer of, wow,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
wish some of the people on my team was operating
Right.
on this level, right?
You're not even hired yet. I'm not paying you. And yet, this is how you hold yourself in your outreach. This is the standard you bring to the conversation. This is your process. And sales and being an SDR is very process oriented. So if you can give off a hint of that as part of this interview cadence you have, like you win, you've won. And so again, the theme here is how do you stand out? Standing out is doing the job to get the job. Treat it like the job. Dedicate. And what we tell our students and our alumni is it goes back to how you schedule your days and your weeks. If you really want this career path, it's attainable. There's hundreds of thousands of open jobs available. It's really just about being diligent in doing the work. You need to have the skills, obviously, the employer access, all those things. But once you have them, it's about setting up time in your day, every single day, an hour, 2 hours to go prospecting, which is searching for buyers, searching for sales leaders, and then perform outreach, right? Understand a little bit of what makes them tick, what they're looking for. And then for an hour every day, you're messaging them. You're emailing them, you're calling them, you're texting them every single day, right? And you're guaranteed success if you do that.
Yeah, I think harping on what you said earlier about like I think at the real root mental cause of this is imposter syndrome, right?
Mm,
Where people are kind of coming in with a little bit of that chip where they're thinking like, is this okay for me considering I've never
right,
been in tech sales before?
right,
But I actually think with my personal experience is that the newer people have such a greater advantage because they're less jaded and they're more excited to break in. Like when you have like experienced salespeople, even though they have better skills, their willpower is actually quite low at this point in the game. So like you could take a list of people that's like, yeah, these are people that were interested in AWS like last year.
yeah,
And you'll have some people that's been with the company for like 2, 3 years. Like I'm not calling that pile. And you'll have a brand new hired that was, only 2 weeks ago a teacher, or 2 weeks ago was in the Marines, or 2 weeks ago was an Uber driver, right? And they go out there and they outperform everybody on the
right.
leaderboard and the scoreboard because the way that their mindset is like, oh my gosh, my quota's yeah, yeah. Anything else, anybody else you guys don't want me to call? Because there's not right. I'll take it, and I think it's so like versus like most of the senior salespeople, they have a little bit more of an ego, and they kind of have a little bit more of that entitlement. It's like, yeah, the best way to go out there and stand out, get the job, because we've had on our testimonial some people that's gotten into awesome companies like HubSpot,
Right.
Salesforce, coming in here at hiring partners seem to be very happy with them, especially if you guys have not gotten in contact with us about our capstone project, please definitely reach out, inquire about the monthly capstone projects that we have here. We got great partners that are part of the panel. um, when you approach it and you're fresh, it's just like you don't have those mental limitations.
Absolutely.
You're just ready to come in here and tackle it. So what's your 2 cents on that? Like,
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to this whole point of what should I do? Is it okay to reach out to leaders directly, and not just wait for the interviews, not wait for my resume to get hit and say that they would like to interview with me, but what can I do to stand out? Is it okay to reach out to these folks? A lot to Rich's point, a lot of folks who are experienced won't even do this work. And then, so they won't do the work to get the job. And then when they do get the job, like Rich is sharing, they feel like they've done it so much that they don't want to do it. They create some biases around the different types of potential buyers they could be speaking with. And employers don't want to hear that. They want coachability, they want humility, they want hustle, and then finally they want resilience, right? So I'd say sometimes what you have with experienced reps is if they're not constantly moving upwards, you've got low resilience and you've got that sort of expectation or that ego, right? So resilience can look like, hey, this day or this week didn't go my way. So like, you know what? This isn't worth it for me. I'm going to start looking for a new job or something like that. And again, you can test your own resilience by treating this job search process as a job. Right? If I can put in a week's worth of effort and only get a couple of responses, a couple of positive responses, and that's enough to give me some positive momentum into the next week, like I have a higher level of resilience than 90% of the other folks trying to get this job, right? Like this is a career that's a good fit for me. So I think you all, if you're looking at this and you're trying to break in and you think, I'm new, I don't have the experience, how do I break out? I think you need to think of like your newness as actually your superpower. It means that you are optimistic. It means that you are going to go after any opportunity. It means you're not jaded like a lot of experienced reps. And it means that you're willing to do the work where others won't.
100%. Leverage whatever disadvantage you think you might have, that's actually really your superpower, right?
Boom.
If somebody's actually come and they're kind of looking for these, I think, sharper rebuttals, either because you're selling yourself at the end of the day, which I think is the most important product of all. Like, how could you sell AWS, or how can you go out there and sell outreach, or how can you go out there and sell like a marketing automation tool if you can't go out there and sell yourself? So like,
100%.
like why should I give you a shot? I mean, if you're thinking like, why would they give me a shot? Because I'm driving an Uber right now. It's, well, I'm gonna crush it on this job because I never want to drive an Uber again. Like look at it as like your absolute superpower. So
Boom.
um let us know in the comments if you guys actually want like more of a step-by-step tutorial of how to go ahead and find these hiring managers, and how to go ahead and contact these hiring managers, and how to follow up with them. I think is so important too. That's
Yep.
almost 85-90% of your job on the job, because they're I mean, this is B2B enterprise sales.
Well,
It's like,
yeah. Look,
yeah,
I'll we'll go further. We'll show a live demo of ways you can get in front of sales leadership and templates you could use to get interviews if we get enough responses to something like this. If y'all want to see it, we'll do it.
100%. So that said, Norman, thank you so much for taking time out of your
Thanks,
busy.
Rich.
See y'all in the next video, and definitely come through on the coaching call. Reach out to us, people. Don't do this alone.